Welcome back. This is an important one and a topic that is a must for anybody that's looking to become a master, and that is deliberate practice. And deliberate practice, as we're going to discover, is going to teach us that the learning process should be tough. Temporary frustrations when learning is a good thing. Now we finally get to talk about Anders Ericsson, which I've mentioned a few times already. He wrote a book called Peak, which is one of the most important books when it comes to learning. And in his book, this idea of deliberate practice gets mentioned quite often. Now, Anders mentions that rock climbers, chess players, and all of these masters can usually visualize things, visualize all their moves ahead of time. They're able to create experiences in their mind, make accurate predictions, and keep a lot of information in their mind. The way they're able to do such things isn't just natural talent, but it's deliberate practice. So, what is deliberate practice? Well, deliberate practice usually happens like this. You start to learn a topic, and initially, you have rapid progress. That is, things are good at first. You're learning so much at the beginning that you see yourself progressing more and more each day. But then eventually, we always hit what we call a perceived limit, where we start to plateau. And because we don't get that immediate progress that we saw in the past when we were just beginners, we start to get a little bit of frustration where we don't see ourselves improving. We've plateaued. This is where deliberate practice comes in. We want to be just in this area where we're finding a bit of frustration. And for us to improve, we need to have deliberate practice. That is, we're right on the edge of our limits, and we're trying to push through to suddenly get a breakthrough and go back to that rapid progress. And then repeat that cycle where we hit a limit, a flat area, and then we practice at this edge, at this uncomfortable edge of our limits, and then move past that. Now, in order to have deliberate practice, we need, according to Anders Ericsson, we need specific goals. We need intense focus. We need immediate feedback. And we need that frequent discomfort by being at the edge of our abilities. And this idea of deliberate practice goes hand in hand with the idea of passive and active learning. It refers to the specific type of practice that is actually what we call purposeful. While regular practice might include things like mindless repetition, deliberate practice actually requires us to be focused, getting that immediate feedback and having that specific goal to know where we want to be. As Anders Ericsson describes it, deliberate practice takes place outside one's comfort zone and requires a student to constantly try things that are just beyond his or her current abilities. Thus, it demands near maximal effort, which is generally not enjoyable. That's right. Unfortunately, deliberate practice is not meant to be fun. It's that practice that is a struggle. It's that area where you feel like you're not good enough. It's pushing yourself to your limits. So, how do we get to the state of deliberate practice? Well, one, we need to make sure that we have periods of undistracted focus. We need that focus mode of thinking for deliberate practice. Next, we need to push ourselves to the edge of your ability. You want to make sure that you're cycling between comfort and discomfort, where you're trying something and learning something and pushing your limits, where you find a task too difficult, too hard for you to do. Next, to seek immediate feedback and mentorship. So get help from somebody. Let's say you're learning how to code. Well, try to build your own project and find that it's super difficult. Then you start reaching out to your peers, to your mentor, to your teacher, and seeing if they can help you out with your problem. At the end of the day, there's a reason that you have people that you admire. Famous people like Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos, Roger Federer, or any type of master. All of them do deliberate practice. And deliberate practice is uncomfortable. If you want to achieve great things in your life, this is simply something you need to do. You can't just achieve things by luck, by not trying. The good news is that the better you get at something, the more enjoyable it becomes. Now, I want us to remember the dip here, because we talked about this idea of obstacles, but also this idea of dip, where we encounter sometimes things that might not help us toward our future goal. Maybe we have unrealistic goals where we actually should turn around and not pursue to become that professional basketball player. Now, there are genetical influences when it comes to performance. Yes, some people are born with better genes than others. Yes, some people have better opportunities than others. Sometimes you're dealt a hand of cards, and that's what you have to play with. But each of us have our own deck of cards. Each one has a hand that has been dealt. But deliberate practice can actually help us maximize our potential. Each of us have different potentials, but by doing deliberate practice, you maximize your hand. You maximize the cards that have been dealt to you. It turns our potential into our reality. Now, to end this video, you might be wondering, what is this image of? This is Kendo, or the way of the sword. It's a Japanese martial art, and it has an interesting lesson to teach us about deliberate practice. For that, I'll see you in the next lecture.